it's so interesting just to kind of see it so publicly play out.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a reason it played out publicly because the person who's in the middle of it, RFK Jr., wants it to play out publicly because he wants the attention. I mean, some of this is just about ego, attention, that the search for relevance in a world of our politics right now. That in a close election, I guess he thought he could find it. Look, I do think this. There are lots of American voters who are very, very anti-institution. They think the institutions have failed. They think they're being lied to by government and corporations and, et cetera, et cetera. And so obviously there is an audience for what he is selling, at least on some fronts. And it's that kind of anti-institutional sentiment that I guess he sees more of himself in Trump than he sees in Harris. So you sort of get the marketing appeal of it. But when you really look deeply into it and you see what's probably motivating him, the personal, search for relevance and the personal search for, influence and an administration, maybe some of his supporters won't see him as pure as they once did. But I totally agree with you, Anderson. The idea that this whole spectacle is playing out, in front of us and the transactional piece. By the way, I think there are kind of laws against promising people jobs before you, get into an administration like this. They do have to be careful about that.
Actually, it's so interesting because Michelle Obama spoke, and I don't have the direct quote, but about the affirmative action, about people like Trump who, she said, had failed forward, and she talked about the affirmative action of inherited wealth. I mean, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is the poster child for, anybody can look up his past at Harvard. There was just an article about alleging he was selling cocaine to the students. He's been very open about his own struggles with addiction. But I didn't go much on the brainworm story because I felt bad for him that he had a worm in his brain, as unusual as that may be. But I mean, there's the 2014. He said he placed a dead bear cub in New York Central Park after he found it on the side of the road in the Hudson Valley, which I'll just play a clip of that.
I was driving up maybe, really early, like 7, and that woman in a van in front of me hit a bear and killed it, a young bear. So I pulled over and I picked up the bear and put him in the back of my van because I was going to skin the bear, and it was very good condition, and I was going to put the meat in my refrigerator. And you can do that in New York State. You can get a bear tag for a roadkill bear.
And yeah, that's Roseanne he was talking to too. And then he went on to say he got delayed at Peter Luger's steakhouse with the dead bear in his car, and then he remembered he had to catch a plane, so he drove the dead bear cub to Central Park to dump it there with a bicycle to make it look like the bear was killed by a bike. I don't even have a question here. I just wanted to say all that because it's just so friggin' bizarre.
It's wandered into Central Park with a bear. I mean, I did it just last night.
I mean, I grew up in the city. I didn't know there was an option.
I raised this before. What did the valet think when he parked his car?
I mean, even Roseanne's face. I mean, even Roseanne seemed to think that was odd. And I gotta say, that's saying a lot.
Right, exactly.
Anyway, it's been a long week. Ashley, thank you. David Axelrod, Scott Jennings.